Death of Walter Scott out in South Carolina by a police officer as evidence that police are targeting black men in America. Is that true? Here to discuss, former homicide detective and Fox News contributor Rod Wheeler and former senior military intel officer on the FBI National Joint Terrorism Task Force, Steve Rogers. Guys, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
So, Rod, do you agree with somebody on one of the other lefty morning shows said that cops are targeting blacks? They're comfortable because they know they can get away with it. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I don't agree with that at all, as a matter of fact. I mean, when you look at the actual statistics and the actual numbers, that statement clearly is not true. I mean, because police officers all across this country do a dynamic job. And yes, there are individuals, you know, I don't want to sound naive. There are individuals within police departments that may have their own personal biases and bring them to the job. But that's what we need to be weeding out. I don't think what we're seeing here is some kind of organized pattern of police departments targeting minorities.
Steve, the facts, though, bear out that more white people are shot by police officers and black people are shot by police officers.
Yes, that is true, and I agree with everything Rod said. However, I've got to tell you, the media, since 1987, has fueled the fight of racism across this country by following, as you say, some of these people on the left. 1987, you had the Tawana Brawley case. In 1991, you had Crown Heights. You had Ferguson recently, and now you have the incident in South Carolina where the media just descends on these areas. And let me add this. Yesterday, to the credit of the Walter Scott family, they said, keep the media out of our town. We don't want the circus. That says it all.
Rod, what do you think? Do you think in some cases, and you know what, Steve, something you didn't mention in a number of those anecdotes regarding trouble, Al Sharpton, the common denominator there.
Well, he is the provocateur, and people don't want to say it. They're afraid to say it, but I'll say it. He has divided this nation. He adds no value to the conversation of healing. And let me add this. Over the past year, 5 black police officers were shot and killed in this country. And where was the media? Where was Al Sharpton? That man ought to be ashamed of himself.
I'd agree with that. Rod, regarding and there's Al Sharpton himself right there, and the family in South Carolina said we don't want a circus as there was in Ferguson, according to a family member. Rod, we've got dash cam video now of the beginning of this incident, and you clearly see the cop office, you know, the guy, Walter, is in his car right there, and for some unknown reason at this point, he just bolts out. And the cop gives chase, and then he goes taser, taser, taser. Then there's a period of we don't know how long. Here, the police officer's going to chase him right here. We don't know how long, but something happens between that and the video that we have seen as well. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, Steve, Mr. Scott, he took off running because he had an active warrant for unpaid child support. That's not unusual, but at the same time, if I was out there in uniform in a police car, such as this police officer was, I would have not chased this guy. We don't chase people for having outstanding warrants for non-payment of child support. But I do think that the police officer should have used a lot more discretion in approaching the individual and, of course, at the point in which he drew his weapon.
So, Rod, you would not have, because it was a broken taillight violation, you would not have chased him at that point.
No, and I don't think most police officers would have chased him because of that. Now, if there was some other information, Steve, that this police officer knew or knew at the time that we don't know, then that needs to come out. But so far, we haven't heard that. And I have to say again, there's tons of people out there with unpaid child support warrants. We don't chase them. They're going to eventually turn up.
Steve Rogers, would you have chased him?
No, there was no need to do what this officer did. It's an awful crime. They knew who the fellow was. They had his car. So you know what? Let him go home and pick him up later.
That's right.
Awful crime.
Indeed. All right. Steve and Rod, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. What do you think about that?